Imagine for a moment a scenario in which one of the world's most influential leaders, Vladimir Putin, dies unexpectedly. What repercussions would this event have in the global political context? What would happen to the future of Russia and its international relations? Although it may seem exaggerated, it is a possible hypothesis, as the leader has experienced several assassination attempts. In today's video, we will explore the possible consequences of Putin's sudden death and how it could impact the balance of power on a global level. Get ready to explore a landscape full of intrigue, centered on one of the most controversial leaders of our time. In the vast and complex land of Russia emerges a figure who has left his imprint on the country's political history and on the international stage: Vladimir Putin. Born on October 7, 1952, in St. Petersburg, then Leningrad, the leader grew up in a time of profound changes in the Soviet Union, which would significantly influence his political vision and his future trajectory. After studying law at St. Petersburg State University, Putin joined the KGB, the Soviet intelligence service. There, he underwent physical and tactical preparation as a secret agent, which made him an extraordinary political figure. His ascent through the ranks of the organization was swift and demonstrated exceptional skills in espionage and handling delicate situations. Even though years have passed since that training, Putin remains a prepared man.
А где работал? Инспектор город. Патронники там? Так точно.
With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Putin transitioned into politics and began working in the government of St. Petersburg. His political rise was swift, and in 1999, President Boris Yeltsin appointed him as Prime Minister of Russia. Just a few months later, in December of the same year, Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned, and the former KGB assumed the interim presidency, a position he would later confirm in the 2000 elections. Since then, he has been a dominant figure in Russian politics, exercising presidential power for over 2 decades, with a brief hiatus as prime minister between 2008 and 2012, during which Dmitry Medvedev held the highest office. During his terms, Putin has been a polarizing president, admired by many Russians for his stability and strong leadership, but criticized by others for his authoritarianism and handling of political opposition. He consolidated state control over the media, suppressed dissent, and maintained a firm stance in the international arena, challenging the West in conflicts such as the annexation of Crimea in 2014, intervention in Syria in 2015, and the recent war with Ukraine. Domestically, the leader has overseen a series of economic and social reforms with mixed results. While he has implemented policies that have strengthened the Russian economy and improved the quality of life for many citizens, he has also faced scrutiny for widespread corruption and lack of transparency in his government. However, despite the criticisms and challenges, he remains an influential figure in Russian politics and on the international stage. His ability to project an image of strength and stability has been key to maintaining his popularity among a large portion of his country's population. One of the strategies to consolidate his power was to win the love of his people. For this reason, he tries to be one of them. For example, he participates in traditions of sacrifice, as you will see below. Though his current term is scheduled to end in 2025, significant changes to the constitution in 2020 could allow him to govern Russia until the year 2036. Such a personalized regime poses the problem of foreseeing who would succeed the undisputed leader. but above all projecting what would happen in an emergency scenario such as an unexpected death. In recent years, there have been speculations about the health of the Russian leader. Rumors have circulated about possible illnesses such as thyroid cancer, Parkinson's, leprosy, or health deterioration following a stroke, although none of these conditions have been officially confirmed. In fact, there have been occasions when the Kremlin has been forced to refute rumors about alleged health episodes of Vladimir Putin, such as a presumed heart attack in his room. All these rumors only raise more questions about the future of Russia in a hypothetical scenario of the president's death. If the former KGB agent were to pass away, the Federation Council would have a period of 14 days to convene presidential elections, and the voting should take place within 3 months following the termination of the president's powers. If they fail to do so, this responsibility would fall to the Central Election Commission. Meanwhile, the current Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin would assume the position of interim president. However, it has been observed that Mishustin does not maintain a close relationship with Putin, nor is he considered a credible candidate for an election, which would complicate succession. It is logical to assume that Putin's departure would leave an impressive power vacuum among business interests, security officials, and other factions of the elite. Predicting the future in countries with totalitarian regimes is extremely complicated, as alternative political forces are scarce and it is difficult to foresee how different factions would react. In the case of Russia, the government has undermined any option over the last 2 decades, making it unlikely that the current opposition would win an election after Putin. So, who defines the successor to the former KGB agent? In the intriguing scenario of post-Putin Russia, the power game intensifies among the most powerful factions of the Kremlin. If the shadow of death looms over the current leader, the next president will need the backing of the Siloviki, the influential elite composed of intelligence services and the military. In this scenario, Nikolai Patrushev emerges, the enigmatic secretary of the Security Council and former director of the Federal Security Service. Given his close relationship with Putin, his name stands out as a strong candidate, although his age, 71 years old, could be an obstacle. But history also considers his son, Dmitry Patrushev, the young Minister of Agriculture with a background in the FSB, the Russian Federal Security Service. With his unwavering loyalty to the Siloviki, Dmitry could be the bet for a long-term future in the Kremlin. However, internal struggles within this elite typically remain unresolved. Dmitry Medvedev, the former prime minister and president, was once considered Putin's natural successor, but his recent demotion to the position of deputy chairman of the Security Council suggests a shift in political winds. On the other hand, Alexei Dyumin, the former head of the president's security, is rising in the political scene thanks to his role in the annexation of Crimea. Although trained militarily, his intelligence experience and close ties to the former KGB make him a figure to be reckoned with. On the military front, Sergei Shoigu emerges, the Minister of Defense. Despite his achievements, defeats in the recent war in Ukraine and his non-Russian origin raise doubts about his suitability. Furthermore, the lack of support from influential figures like Ramzan Kadyrov and Yevgeny Prigozhin could jeopardize his position. This duo forms an armed and dangerous paramilitary group that is constantly at odds with the president and has proven very difficult to tame. In this risky power game, every move counts. In the event that Russia finds itself at this hypothetical crossroads, the fate of the country could rest in the hands of those who wield the most influence in the Kremlin. The death of the controversial leader is a speculative exercise that has been carried out on several occasions. As we've told you, there have been multiple attempts on his life.
3 times president, 5 assassination attempts, I'm told. Not as much as Castro, who I've interviewed. I think he must have had 50, but there's a legitimate 5 I've heard about.
Я с Кастро разговаривал на этот счет, и он мне сказал, знаешь, почему я жив? Я спросил, почему? Потому что я своей безопасностью всегда занимался лично. Делаю свою работу, а сотрудники безопасности делают свое. До сих пор у них это все неплохо получалось.
Vladimir Putin's life seems like something out of a movie. With several assassination attempts behind him, his name has been in the sights of the darkest conspirators on more than one occasion. On Wednesday, May 3, 2023, he narrowly escaped a drone attack, an episode that underscored the constant threat he faces. The Kremlin wasted no time in pointing the finger at Ukraine as the instigator of this latest attempt, claiming to have shot down the 2 unmanned aircraft allegedly launched from that country. The incident took place in a tense context, with a series of train sabotage and other acts of hostility, all of this just before the celebrations for the commemoration of victory in World War II. But this wasn't the first deadly challenge Putin faced. In May 2022, there were reports of an assassination attempt in the Caucasus shortly after Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. In 2012, just before the presidential elections, a convoluted plot to end his life was thwarted, allegedly designed by the most radical opposition to his regime. The list of assassination attempts is impressive. Another one was in 2003 when the British anti-terrorism police prevented an attack during Putin's visit to London. 2 men were arrested linked to the plan, one of whom had a sinister past as a former hitman for the Russian Secret Service. In another thriller-worthy episode, during an official visit to Azerbaijan in 2002, an Iraqi was arrested for conspiring to assassinate Putin. The plan involved an attack on the presidential car as it traveled along a highway near the Kremlin. Fortunately, the plot was foiled before it could be carried out, and the culprit was sentenced to prison. But the plot thickened even more that same year when Russian authorities uncovered a plan to attack Putin's car as he traveled along a highway near the presidential palace. 40 kilograms of explosives intended to destroy the road were found, but thanks to the swift intervention of the authorities, the Russian president escaped unharmed once again. These tales of danger paint a disturbing picture of the life of one of the world's most powerful leaders. Putin's legacy extends beyond his presidential term. His influence in Russian politics and on the international stage will endure long after he leaves office. Therefore, the exercise of imagining a Russia without the former KGB at the helm is a complex and fascinating political challenge.
У нас, знаете, как говорят в народе? У нас говорят так: кому суждено быть повешенным, тот не утонет.
In this way, we are reaching the end of this reflective episode, but before finishing, we wanted to ask you, what do you think would happen in the event of the unexpected death of Vladimir Putin? How would Western countries and the Russian opposition react? We look forward to your answers in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss videos like these. We'll see you in the next installment.